Welcome to the deep dive. We dig through articles, studies, personal accounts, all sorts of sources to pull out the really potent insights for you. And today, well, we're getting into something pretty universal. Intimate relationships. We've all been there, right? Relationships change, they evolve, and sometimes you hit this sort of intimacy rut. And not just, physically, emotionally too. Ever felt like you were basically just roommates who happened to share a bed? Yeah. If that sounds familiar, you'll definitely want to stick around for this. We're focusing today on a really honest story from a couple. They were right in that rut, and they used a 7-day intimacy challenge to try and find their way back to each other. So our mission here is to pull out the practical tips, the kind of surprising moments, the things that really made a difference for them. It's like a shortcut to understanding how putting in conscious effort, real effort, can actually rekindle that connection. Let's talk about Sarah and Mike. They'd been married 8 years, and maybe 3 months before this challenge, they realized things were off. The spark. They said it felt either totally forced or just, gone. Life was work, dinner, Netflix, sleep, repeat. Sound familiar? It was Sarah who found this idea, this 7-day challenge. And the focus wasn't just specs, it was the whole emotional connection package. They admitted they were super hesitant at first. Talking about your sex life, even with your partner of 8 years. Awkward.
Incredibly awkward for many people.
But they realized that awkwardness, that discomfort, that was a big part of the problem they needed to tackle. They promised to share all the good stuff, the really cringy moments, and the bits that genuinely surprised them. And honestly, their account, it really delivers.
Yeah, it does. And what's really interesting, I think, is that this challenge, it wasn't just a list of, 5 ways to spice things up.
No.
It was much more thoughtful, like a building block approach, where each day kind of laid the groundwork for the next. They set some pretty firm rules, too. A full 7-day commitment, that was non-negotiable. Also, no phones during their specific challenge time each evening. Big one.
Oh, definitely. The phone thing is huge.
Huge. And no excuses unless someone was genuinely sick. But here's a really crucial part, I think. Everything on the challenge list was optional if someone felt uncomfortable, and this is the key, they had to talk about why. No shutting down.
So you couldn't just say nope and walk away.
Exactly. You had to engage with the discomfort, communicate it. That itself is an intimate act, right? Facing the awkwardness together. So the days look like this. Day 1, honest communication. Day 2, physical touch without expectations. Day 3, emotional vulnerability. That sounds intense. Day 4, playfulness and fun. Day 5, mindful intimacy. Day 6, adventure and novelty. And finally, Day 7, integration and commitment, making it stick.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
It does, but they were very clear. It was not simple, not at all.
Yeah, day 1 definitely proved that. Right out of the gate. The task was 30 minutes, just talking about their intimate relationship, non-judgmental, non-defensive.
Easier said than done.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mike apparently thought, this will be easy, we talk all the time. But he learned fast that, talking about logistics is not the same as talking about intimacy. Big difference. Things got real fast. They asked each other, when did you last feel truly desired by me?
Wow. Powerful question.
Yeah. And Mike's answer, it hit Sarah hard. He said it had been months, not because she wasn't affectionate, but her affection felt, routine, like checking a box on a to-do list.
Oh, that's gotta sting.
Yeah. And when Sarah answered, she started crying. She felt Mike desired the idea of intimacy with her, but not her, as a person. That was the painful moment they realized, oh God, we've stopped seeing each other as sexual, desirable people. They felt like comfortable furniture.
That phrase, comfortable furniture, really captures that drift, doesn't it? Familiar, reliable, but maybe not exciting or desired. And naturally, the conversation got heated. Of course it did. Sarah accused Mike of only touching her when he wanted sex. He fired back that she rejected him so often he'd basically just stopped trying. Classic standoff.
Right, the initiate-reject cycle. Very common.
But here's the critical part. They didn't storm off. They stayed. They actually used a technique called mirroring. Have you heard of this? You repeat back what your partner just said, but the essence of it before you respond.
Okay, yeah. So what I hear you saying is that kind of thing.
Exactly that. It sounds simple, maybe even a bit mechanical, but it forces you to actually listen. It signals to your partner, I'm trying to understand you, which can really dial down the defensiveness. They said it was this mirroring thing that allowed them to finally hear the pain behind each other's frustration, maybe for the first time in ages. It was a turning point.
Wow. Okay, so day 1 was intense, but ultimately productive because they stuck with it and used that technique. Day 2 then shifted to physical touch. The rule was 20 minutes of non-sexual touch, Zero expectation of it leading to sex.
Another one that sounds simpler than it is.
Totally. They found it surprisingly hard. They realized just how much of their touching had become, well, transactional, always with an underlying hope or expectation of sex.
That pressure can really kill the connection, can't it? Touch becomes about performance or obligation.
Exactly. Mike actually caught himself wondering if Sarah was in the mood while just rubbing her back. He had to consciously, reset his brain. And Sarah felt tense, wondering, okay, what's he expecting? Should I be doing something more?
The internal monologue.
But then, about 10 minutes in, something shifted. Sarah just relaxed. Her shoulders dropped. She said it was like her body remembered that touch could just feel good on its own without needing to perform.
That's fascinating. It's like retraining the nervous system, associating touch with safety and pleasure again, not just expectation. And Mike found a different kind of intimacy, too, focusing on Sarah's neck and shoulders, really feeling the tension from her day. He said that felt more connected, more intimate than sex had felt recently.
Interesting. So taking sex off the table actually deepened the intimacy.
Paradoxically, yes, it allowed for presence. They ended up doing the exercise a few times that day because it felt so good, so connecting without that pressure.
Okay, then day 3. You mentioned this one sounded intense. Emotional vulnerability. They called it the most terrifying day.
I can believe it. What was the task?
Share one fear about the relationship and one thing they were genuinely grateful for about their partner.
Ooh, okay. That's deep.
Yeah, Sarah went first. Her fear that Mike was staying with her purely out of habit rather than choice.
Wow. That takes courage to say.
Absolutely. And Mike got really quiet. Sarah thought, oh no, I broke him. But then he admitted. She was right. He had been coasting, taking things for granted.
That level of honesty is
Wow.
hard to hear, hard to admit.
For sure. Then it was Mike's turn. His fear that Sarah found him boring, that she wasn't attracted to him anymore.
Equally devastating in a different way.
Yeah. And Sarah said it just broke her heart. She immediately saw how she'd stopped paying attention to him, the person, and only saw his role, husband, partner.
It's amazing how these hidden fears can just fester under the surface, isn't it? Until you drag them out into the light. And the gratitude part, sometimes that's almost harder when you're in a rut. It feels forced.
Right. But it was powerful, too. Mike said he was grateful for how Sarah made mundane things feel special, and she realized, gosh, I haven't done that in ages.
So the gratitude served as a reminder of positive patterns they had lost.
Exactly. And Sarah was grateful that Mike never made her feel stupid for her emotions, which really reinforced that positive quality in him.
Nice. So it wasn't just about the fears, but also reaffirming the good stuff.
Yeah, and that one conversation, meant to be short, turned into 2 hours, talking dreams, fears, hopes. They said it felt like dating again, but with all the deep history they shared, the vulnerability just cracked things open.
That makes sense. True vulnerability is incredibly connective.
Okay, so after all that intensity, day 4 sounds like a relief, playfulness and fun. The task, do something together that made them both genuinely laugh.
A lighter note. Good.
Much needed. But even this was a bit of a challenge initially. They realized they couldn't actually remember the last time they just, belly laughed together. Polite chuckles, sure, but real laughter, nope.
That's sad, but probably quite common, too. Life gets serious.
It does. So they got creative. They decided to recreate their second date, which was mini golf. But they did it by building a course in their living room, using pillows, books, cups.
Oh, I love that. That sounds chaotic and fun.
Apparently it was. It led to total silliness. A pillow fight, collapsing on the floor laughing.
Yeah.
And then Sarah said something really telling. I forgot how much I like you.
Like not just love, like enjoyment.
Exactly. She clarified. The love was always there, but she'd forgotten how much she just enjoyed his company, his humor, him being silly.
That connection between playfulness and intimacy is so important and so often overlooked. Being silly together builds comfort, lowers guards. Plus, laughter itself releases endorphins. It literally makes you feel closer physiologically. It's a shortcut back to connection sometimes.
It definitely seemed to work for them. That night felt like a big shift towards feeling close again. So, building on that playful connection, day 5 went deep again. Mindful intimacy. This was about being present, non-goal-oriented physical intimacy. They warned this day, got intense.
Okay, mindful intimacy. What did that look like practically?
They said they were both pretty nervous going in. Okay, we've reconnected emotionally, playfully, but is that spark still there? They started with a sort of meditation, sitting facing each other, eyes closed, synchronizing their breathing, just focusing on sensations without trying to control anything or make anything happen.
Bringing that presence, that awareness into the physical.
Yeah. And then came this really powerful moment. They opened their eyes and just held eye contact silently for 2 minutes.
2 minutes of sustained eye contact can feel like an eternity.
Right. Mike said in that moment he saw her not just as my wife, but as Sarah, this beautiful woman I fell in love with. Like seeing her fresh and Sarah, she said she just felt completely seen in a way that made her want to be seen more, to be rediscovered.
Wow. That's profound, just from eye contact and presence. And it sounds like this is where all the work from the previous days really came together. The communication, the non-expectant touch, the vulnerability, the playfulness, it all fed into this moment.
Definitely. They said the physical intimacy that followed was different, slower, focused entirely on sensation rather than performance. It wasn't about technique. It was pure connection.
Stripping away the pressure and just being present with each other.
Yeah. And afterwards, they both just cried. Happy tears, partly for reconnecting so deeply, but also tears of grief, they said, for how disconnected they had let themselves become. It felt like their parallel lives had finally merged again.
That intersection point. Powerful stuff.
So, day 6. This was about adventure and novelty. Stepping outside the usual routine, but within their comfort zone. They drew on stuff they talked about earlier in the week. Fantasies, desires they hadn't acted on.
So applying the communication from day one to trying new things.
Exactly. Wasn't anything crazy, apparently. Just
Yeah.
trying different locations in the house, different times of day than usual, maybe approaching things differently.
And the key insight here from their account wasn't just the novelty itself. It was the communication during the novelty. They were actually talking while being intimate, asking things like, is this okay? How does this feel? What if we tried this? Instead of just guessing or assuming.
So no mind reading.
Right, which made it feel, in their words, like playing again, but in an adult way. Exploring together with trust and open dialogue. That continuous communication kept them present and engaged.
That makes sense. The adventure wasn't just the act, but the shared exploration. Okay, finally, day 7, integration. This feels really important. How do you make this last? How does it become a lifestyle, not just a one-week fix?
Crucial question. A week is great, but sustainability is the real goal.
So they sat down and figured out what had the biggest impact for them. They made specific commitments.
Yeah.
Things like a daily 10, 15-minute check-in, phones off,
Yeah.
just about them, their feelings, desires.
Maintaining that communication habit.
Yeah. Also, 10 minutes of daily non-expectant physical touch, like back rubs, cuddling, holding hands, keeping that safe touch alive.
Building on day 2's success.
Right. Then, a weekly play date, dedicated time for fun and laughter, like day 4.
Prioritizing fun. Good.
And a monthly vulnerability session, checking in on fears, gratitudes, dreams, desires, continuing the work of day 3.
So embedding those key elements into their routine. And they were clear, right? The goal wasn't to keep up the intensity of that specific week forever. That's probably unrealistic. It was about sustaining the intentionality, the presence, building habits of connection so they wouldn't drift so far apart again. It's about the ongoing practice.
Exactly. It's about maintaining the connection muscle, essentially.
Yeah.
So the big question, did it stick? They gave an update 3 months later, and they were honest. It hasn't been perfect. Of course not. Life happens. There have been busy weeks. They've slacked off sometimes. They still argue.
Real life, yeah.
But the difference is that foundation they built, it's still there. When they feel disconnected now, they have actual tools to reconnect. They know what works for them, rather than just letting the drift happen.
That's the key takeaway, isn't it? Having the tools and the awareness.
Definitely. And the biggest change they reported, seeing each other as lovers again,
Yeah.
not just partners or parents or roommates. Intimacy is apparently more frequent, yes, but more importantly, more fulfilling, because it's built on that stronger emotional and mental connection they rebuilt.
That makes perfect sense. The physical follows the emotional.
They also mentioned other ripple effects.
Like Yeah.
They fight better now, dealing with conflict more directly instead of letting it create distance. And that playfulness, it stuck around. They're sillier together day to day.
That's great to hear. And it all comes back to their big realization, doesn't it? That intimacy isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you actively create, intentionally, every day. It's a choice.
Such a powerful mindset shift. It puts the control back in your hands, in a way. Now, hearing all this, you listening might have some questions popping up. We anticipated a few, like, number 1, okay, this sounds great, but what if my partner just isn't interested in doing something like this?
Yeah, that's a really common and valid concern. You absolutely cannot force intimacy or connection work on someone. It has to be voluntary. But what you can do is share your feelings. Talk about how you're experiencing the relationship, what you desire, and then gently ask if they'd be open to trying something small together.
Yeah.
Maybe suggest just starting with day one, that communication piece, 30 minutes of focused talk. Their willingness or unwillingness to even do that, that gives you really valuable information about where things stand.
Good point. Just the willingness to engage is a data point. Okay, another question. What if we try this and we discover our problems are actually way bigger than a 7-day challenge can fix?
Also a real possibility.
Yeah. And the couple acknowledge this could happen. But even if it does, the challenge still serves a purpose. It gives you clarity. If you put in a week of focused effort, really try these things, and there's zero shift, zero improvement, that might strongly suggest deeper issues that need professional help, like couples therapy, which Sarah and Mike actually had considered as their next step if the challenge didn't work.
Exactly. The challenge can be diagnostic, in a way. It helps you assess the situation more clearly. And someone might wonder, did Sarah and Mike ever feel like just giving up during the week?
Oh yeah, apparently day 3, that intense vulnerability day,
Mm-hmm.
that almost broke them. They said they both went to bed angry, feeling really raw and unsettled.
Those moments feel like failure, but they're often where the real growth happens, right? Pushing through that discomfort.
It seems like it. They said pushing through the hardest days often led to the biggest breakthroughs. Quitting might feel easier, but staying in it is where the change happens.
It often is.
And one last thought. Would this approach work for couples who've been together much longer or maybe much shorter than 8 years?
Good question.
Their feeling, and it makes sense, is that the core principles, communication, vulnerability, touch, play, presence, intentionality, those are pretty universal. They apply whether you're newly together or decades in, but the specific focus might shift, right? Newer couples might be using these tools to build intimacy from scratch. Long-term couples might be focused on rebuilding what's faded, or maybe evolving their intimacy for a new life stage. Needs adapting, maybe?
Precisely. The framework is adaptable, but the underlying needs it addresses are fundamental to most relationships.
So, if you're listening and thinking about trying something similar, maybe the biggest takeaway from Sarah and Mike's journey is this. Approach it with curiosity. Not desperation, but genuine curiosity about yourselves and your partner.
Yes. And remember, this kind of challenge is a tool. It's fantastic for reconnection when the love is still there, but the connection feels weak or lost. It's likely not a magic fix for really fundamental incompatibilities or deep-seated resentments that might need more intensive work. Be prepared for it to be challenging. Truly intimate work requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels risky. It is scary, even with someone you deeply love.
But their conclusion.
Emphatically that it's worth it. Profoundly worth it. There's a deeper implication here, something they touched on that I found really thought-provoking. They suggested that the relationship they have now, after doing this work, is actually better than what they had even as newlyweds.
Better than the honeymoon phase. How so?
Because, they said, it's built on so much more now. Deeper self-knowledge, deeper knowledge of each other, and crucially, intentional choice. It's a connection they actively forged together through difficulty, not just one they passively fell into.
Wow. A connection forged, not just found. That really lands. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? If intimacy really is something we create, something we choose every single day, what's one small intentional thing you could do today? What action could you take to build or deepen that connection in your own relationship, even if it feels a bit uncomfortable? Maybe especially if it feels uncomfortable, because maybe that discomfort is right where the stronger, more authentic bond begins, something to ponder.